Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. My name is Don Martin. This weekend, my co-host Gordy Gundaker is out ill. He has the Knoxville blues, I guess we would call it. Gordy's out sick a little bit. I guess he was partying pretty hard, but we miss him. And I'm going to carry it on tonight. First thing I want to thank our partners, Nutrient Ag, Steve Martin, thanks for everything you do. Jeff Hoker of Hoker Trucking and Bodies by Skinny, an official Longhorn dealer. And I also want to thank Millard Family Chapels. And also, last but not least, my buddy Bo Popejoy at Hot Rod Septic. We're going to go right into it. Last weekend, we had the biggest sprint car race of the year. And we saw an 18-year-old lead it from green to green. Ryan Tims was very impressive of what he did. And my guest actually tonight finished fourth in that race. And we're going to dive more into the Nationals in our second segment tonight. And that's Carson Macedo. Before we get in, we'll talk a lot with Carson over the Nationals and what's going on with his program. I'm really excited about knowing I'm a big fan of Carson Macedo. And then I want to talk a little bit about dirt late model racing. Last weekend, we had the North-South 100 at Florence, Kentucky. A monstrous crowd, as always, what Josh King puts together. But the fireworks, as great as the race was, the fireworks seemed like it was between Bobby Pierce and Jonathan Davenport. There's been a lot of talk about this week about how each one drove the other. And Jonathan's a friend of the show. We've had Jonathan even on here. And Bobby didn't like the line that Jonathan was racing, and Jonathan just flat out came out and said, and I don't like the sliders that Bobby has. So both of them, unfortunately this weekend, both are going different directions. We're going to have Jonathan Davenport at Batesville, Arkansas, racing for the 50 grand, and then we've got Bobby chasing the World of Outlaws and late model series. And the World of Outlaws actually kick off Wednesday night at Highland Speedway, a quarter mile, about 45 minutes from St. Louis, and then then they head over to Spoon River, Canton on Thursday, a pair of 12,000 win races, and then our sponsor of the show, Jeff Hoker, he has an event this week, him and RLM Promotions, and I'm really excited about that for Jeff because he had the Nippy 50 earlier part of the year where Bobby Pierce won both nights. And they have a 12,000 to win race on Friday. And then they come right back with a 20,000 to win on Saturday at Maquoketa. And I know my co-host Gordy I was hoping he would talk a lot about that racing there, and really excited about those races going on. So we got some big late model races going on. High limit guys head out west. So we got Tulare and Placerville kicking off this weekend with the High Limit Series. And then the World of Outlaws naturally are going to Minnesota at Ogilvie and then come right back with Jackson at the Jackson Motorplex. Todd Quiring's, what a awesome facility that they'll be going to. So David Gravel probably got to be pumped up about that this weekend, a little frustrated probably the way his weekend went. And we're going to be covering a lot of that with Carson and talking about the Nationals. And I'm going to kind of sign off here in a second because we've got a lot to talk to Carson about with going forward with the World of Outlaws, and also going to talk a little bit about the High Limit Series too with Carson, and talk a little bit about the silly season. Also, I wanted to bring that up, the fact the silly season already began here in August. Usually we wait till we get into fall before we talk about the silly season sprint car racing, but Jason Myers and Spencer Baston part ways. After this past weekend, Jason announced he's going to a one-car team. I don't want to make any speculation who I think will be in that car in 2026, but a little hot sauce, Tabasco sauce, might be kind of coming to life here, in my opinion, in 2026. At least that's what I hope to see. I love Gio Scelzi to death, and I think for Sunshine to be back in the 7BC, Gio's got to end up somewhere, so why wouldn't he that operation in California with Jason Myers Racing and Gio Scelzi could be very, very lethal in 2026. So anyway, we're going to kind of wrap it up here and get ready for our guest, Carson Macedo, to come in, and really excited about that. So folks, enjoy the show. Hi, my name is Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. Tonight, I have got a very exciting guest. We've got Carson Macedo with us. And Carson is coming off a top 5 at the Nationals. He started outside row 1. Folks, if you don't know too much about this guy's been getting like double-digit wins on the Outlaw Tour for the last 5 years and knocking on the door for a championship. And I watched this guy in April. I went to Peevely, and this guy couldn't even walk hardly, and yet is winning races. So first of all, he's one tough son of a bitch. I don't know any other way to say that about you, Carson. You're tough, man. And you don't talk about it a lot, and you don't talk about this at all. I never hear you. You don't whine about it. You don't. And I know that this injury was a little bit more serious than you kind of let on to it to be. Am I right?
Yeah. I don't know. The reason I don't talk about it a whole lot is just because it was my own doing. I was wakeboarding behind a wakeboard boat, so it's not something that I'm like super proud of that I did. I mean, it's not like wakeboarding is like wrong or anything, but it just like it's definitely, I race for a living, and ultimately my income depends on me being healthy and being able to race and drive the race car well. So my first couple of days in Australia, we had raced one night and then went out on the boat the following day, and I ended up breaking my leg. And it was actually called a tibial plateau fracture. So it basically blew the top of my tibia into fragments at the plateau, like at my knee, and then put a big, huge like crack in the bone all the way down. And then it was separated, and there was some bone missing. So I was lucky over there. I got with a good surgeon that was able to put it all back together, put a plate and 10 screws in it, and then I was pretty much non-weight bearing for about 5 weeks. And then I went just continued to try to get, weight bearing to be a part of my daily routine, because I knew I had to race in Volusia at week 6 and a half. So that was by far the hardest thing I did, is race in Volusia after that. But by Peevely, I was better, but I still was definitely nowhere near 100%. I'm still really not 100%, but I'm getting close at least.
What's the stopping? What's some of the things you miss doing right now that you wish that, little golf?
Cardio. No, I can golf now. That was a challenge until just a couple of months ago, but I can golf now. Running is really the biggest thing. I can't run still. We did that Oskaloosa race at Knoxville week and they do the running race, and I had to sub in my crew chief Philip Dietz because I couldn't do the running race, which kind of sucked. But yeah, I just, a lot of the stuff I used to do for like cardio and endurance and stuff like that, just to get my heart rate up all the time, was just go on like long runs. And that's something I can't do anymore. So at the moment, I think I will get back to it, but they told me a year before I'd be able to.
Holy cow. Well, I know that foot race, man. I enjoyed watching you in that too. And I know you look forward. You always had a bunch of smiles on that, so... And Monday night's kind of fun, you know what I mean? And the other thing is, that's a race that, I mean, I know that when I talked to Wrightsville a little bit, he's like, his kids really want him to win that race so bad because they want the belt, So it's like the coolest trophy, it's one of the coolest trophies of the year.
I'm the same. I actually really want, there's 3 belts in sprint car racing, basically. And it's the Oski 360, the Oski 410 belt, and then the National Open, they give you a belt. And I won the National Open at Williams Grove. I won the 360 at Oskaloosa, and I've ran second at the 360 at the 410, or the 410. I ran second like 4 times, so I've never got the belt for that yet. So once I get that, I've got the other ones framed up and everything in really nice cases, and my grandfather did for me. So it'd be nice to get that last one. Are
you in Cali now? Did you go home back to Cali?
I'm back on the West Coast. Yeah. Yeah, I back on the West Coast and happy to, I hadn't been back on the West Coast since 6-7 weeks ago. So been on the road for a long time, and it's nice to be around friends and family. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And you got to have that. That's one of the things too. And we'll get back to talking about Knoxville. And I always wonder about like when you guys put so much effort, so much emphasis into Knoxville every year, in that when the Nationals are over is there a little bit of a letdown? Is it like, oh man, because everything you put in it, or for you, is it like, I'm ready to go again?
No, it's definitely a little bit of a letdown. It's just a bummer that that part of the year is over. I look forward to Knoxville. It's one of the most fun weeks of the year for us, and something that I just really enjoy. The atmosphere, the time with a lot of my friends and family actually go out there to Knoxville. So just spending time with them, and it just, the intensity of that race and everything is just so awesome. And it's a little bit depressing on Sunday, but at the same time, it's nice to get back home. And yeah, I don't know. I think that it just it's just that you realize it's over and it's gonna be 365 days until it's here again, and that part kind of bums you out. But we go back to weekend racing now. There's not really a whole lot of midweek stuff. It's all pretty much weekend racing, and for the most part,
and then you start heading out west, and then you get ready to get back out west, so you get to be around home and family. You get to be at home more and be around family more.
yeah. So that's pretty good. Like, I enjoy the West Coast swing a lot, so that's good. I mean, there's a lot of positives after Knoxville, but it definitely. It's like I feel like a lot of people have that. I never really run the Chili Bowl, but I feel like a lot of people have that same feeling at Chili Bowl. Like, they go there for the week and they're all pumped, and when it's over, it's kind of like reality sets in that it's over, and they got to go back to reality. So that's probably how the Nationals is for me.
You know, one of the coolest things that I saw this year and was naturally with Fremont and Attica. You know, Cole winning at Fremont, and then you winning at Attica. That was probably watching the video of you on top of the truck, you know, rooting for Cole. You know, that was one of the coolest things I've seen all year. You know what I mean? It just shows, and I just would like to know how much fun are you having this year, having your brother out on tour with you?
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, it's really hard to win national races, especially that week, because you know everybody's there. It's not outlaw high limit. It's like the outlaws are there, the high limit guys are there, and everybody's there for that whole week, being, Fremont to Doty, and then you go race Eldora for 4 nights straight. So it was just cool to watch him win that race. I mean, the pressure of having Kyle and Brad right behind him, I think, was immense. And I think he just, he held it all together during that pressure and did a really great job and executed, and, was able to, win the race. And I actually didn't even know that he crashed. I was so pumped to just, like, he was headed to the checkered, and I was like fired up, ready to go down the ladder. And he must have just done it right when I turned around. And I was like kind of limp running out to the track. And I was like, my first reaction was, I saw that the ambulance was in turn 4, and I could see like all the safety vehicles going over there. And I was thinking, like, what an idiot. Somebody crashed after the checker. And, like, I was headed to victory lane, and then I realized, like, oh man, that's Cole. And then I'm like, then it eventually was like, wait, did he win? Like, did he cross the checkered? And I thought, no, he crossed the checkered. Like, the leader crossed the checkered, race is declared. So I'm like, okay, he won. How'd he crash? And then I got over there, and I was just like, who cares? He won. I'm happy for him. And his car owner was right there, and I was kind of trying to test the waters with him, like, hey, like, what a big win. Like, you got to be pumped, and he was like, yeah, man, who cares about that car? We're going to retire it anyway. And I was like, oh, good. Like,
I still remember when I still thought it was really funny. It was like when the cars in the background, the guys on the podium were getting their pictures taken, and Kyle's got that look like, of all the wins I've had, I've never experienced anything like with in Victory Lane with a Toro race car behind me.
Yeah, I never seen anything like that. That's pretty crazy. But it was really cool. And then for us to win the Brad Doty Classic the next night, and I mean, it was just a bit of a storybook few days, really. So just really cool.
And then the Linder family, they've always been so supportive of the Macedos, and hanging out with them. It just like, it's like a fairy tale in a way, it's crazy.
Storybook ending to some good races, but they were there, and that made it really special too. Mike and Steph, and Steven, I mean, they helped us, get going and, get on the national scene and live out in Ohio for a little bit to get our careers going. So it was good. And, yeah, I'm just super thankful for our family. I always joke around and say that, my parents, we've had talks before about how, like, to have 2 kids on the World of Outlaw tour is like hitting the lottery, twice. I mean, you have one is like hitting the lottery to make it to that level, but to have multiple is really cool. And yeah, I think my brother's got a credible work ethic, and that's helped him get to where he's at today. And I think it'll continue to shine through as time goes on.
That team that he's with, they seem like they're getting better and better. You could tell they're getting more comfortable. He's getting more comfortable. That's what it looks to me. They look like they're really starting to gain some momentum.
I agree. I think making the Nationals the other day was big for him. I think that winning the other night at that high limit show, that's a big boost in confidence. And I think that Todd and Kelly Carlisle, they seem like really, really good people. They're the car owners of the team. And then Wayne Johnson's working on it. He's got a lot of experience, and obviously he's had a lot of wins over the years. And so I think just having good people and good experienced people be in his corner is important.
Yeah. And let's get back to the Nationals a little bit and talk a little bit about, you're sitting on the outside of the front row Saturday night. That's an achievement by itself. You get to go to Knoxville and 100 race cars, everybody, the best of the best, and you're starting outside front row. You get fourth place in the feature event, and a top five. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a different race because of the 50 laps with going halfway with the fuel stop and so on. How would you assess your Nationals?
Yeah. So, it was good. I think it was a success. It was.
Car looked great, by the way. I love the car.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Philip did a great job. Him and Sean Kane, they always knock it out of the park with the design and stuff. But I don't know. If I'm a competitor, right? So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed at the end of the race. Going into that race, I really thought I had a shot to win, and the 10 car was just ridiculous. Like I can't believe how fast they were. They were really, really good. And Ryan Timms did a great job, and I wasn't expecting that, if I'm being honest. And I think Ryan's an incredible talent, and he's only going to get better. But ultimately, like, winning the Nationals is tough. Being in that position is tough. Having the pressure on your back's tough. And a lot of guys late in the race will make mistakes, or especially as young as he is, right? But he just did an incredible job, held it all together. And for us, we went out, we qualified really well. And then we were able to really execute our heat race, which set us up for a really good starting spot. I think, went 8th to 2nd in the heat, which was really good. And then started 8th in the feature and ran 5th, which I knew at that point I just kind of needed to hang out and run pretty good in the feature, and I was going to be in a good spot points wise. Started on the front row. The first half of the race I felt okay. Was looking forward to just hopefully holding on to second and getting some adjustments made at the break to hopefully get a little bit better. And I feel like we did get a little bit better, but I still don't think we were, had the 10 speed. They were really fast. And on that last restart, 4 to go, I could see that Rico was behind me and David was behind me, and I knew that they were going to be fast, but I just wanted to take some risks. I didn't want to just play it safe. I wasn't happy with second, and I didn't come there to run second. So I tried to get really aggressive on the restart. Knoxville's a little bit unique, usually on the starts, especially if you start on the bottom. If you get too aggressive with the throttle, you can easily, because your left sides are in the grip, usually if you do start on the bottom, it's very easy to run too much throttle, get left rear drivey, and then it'll drive you out into the slick, and then you spin. And that's just what happened to me. I was getting good starts already, and I should not have gotten greedy, but I wanted to make sure I was right on his bumper when I left turn 4, because my thought process was that I knew he was going to go to the bottom. If I went to the top, got enough of a run on him, and he were to miss the bottom and wanted to on the restart, maybe, I was hoping maybe a little pressure, 4 to go, he might go in there and miss it. And then here I'm on his bumper leaving turn 2 and have a chance to slide him down into turn 3. So that was my plan. That's how I executed it in my head. And I just made a mistake. I got too aggressive, got real hard, got to the throttle really hard and really quick, got left rear drivey, ended up out in the slick, spun down the front stretch. And then I thought, I'm going to send it anyway. I don't care that I got a bad start. I'm still going to the top, which I should have probably protected into 1. I knew I didn't get a good start, but I went to the top. And then just a long way around, and he nailed the bottom. Rico ended up nailing the bottom as well, and it come out of the corner to my left side, and I had to block down into 3. And then I slid across too fast. You know, he got really aggressive trying to get back to the cushion, sliding across, got over the curb, and it was kind of, had a really bad exit to turn 4. It was under fire again from David and Corey Day. So I had to chop them and had a bad angle getting into 1, missed the bottom in 1 and 2. Rico was diamond, ended up top diamond across, beat me down in the backstretch and into turn 3 and went to the top. And David actually nailed the bottom in 3 and 4, came out to my left side, and I had to block and tried to hit the bottom anyway. And he must have been good because he circled off my right rear in 1 and 2 and the little bit of grip that was there and drove by me in 1 and 2 and ultimately came out and ran 4th. So what I thought was going to be possibly my opportunity turned into kind of a disaster. But yeah, it just stings a little bit. That's 2 years in a row. The first year I ran for JJR in 2018, we ran 6th at the Nationals. And then in 2021, when I came back to JJR, I ran 5th. And then I was running.
And that was the year that you doubled up, I think, at the Outlaw shows in June. Am I right?
Yes.
You won both of them.
Right. And then we ended up running 6th that year. I think 2022, I was running 5th and got a flat with 6 to go. And I ended up running 17th. And then in 2023, I ran 5th. And then last year, I was actually running 2nd at the break, same thing, and ended up running 4th in the feature. And then this year, I'm running 2nd at the break, end up running 4th. So I don't know, and I just feel like I'm right there. I can win that race. I know I can, and I know we have the team to do it. It's just putting it all together and
you're going to get it, man.
Unfortunately, this year, I really don't think anybody was going to beat the 10 car out front. I think they were just it was crazy how I would hit the bottom in 1 and 2 perfect, hit the top in 3 and 4 perfect, and really get a good lap behind him. And he was still 2-3 tenths a lap faster than me. So crazy.
He was very strong. I mean, you couldn't take anything away from it. I was like you. I thought, man, will he be able to handle the pressure at the age he is? It's one thing to be out there every week racing the weekly show and winning. I get it with Austin and those guys, but having you guys around him and knowing that Rico and Kyle and Carson are all right there, man. I mean, all the heat's up front, yet he didn't blink.
He didn't. He did a great job. So.
He didn't blink, And then I think one of the interesting stories of the week too was 70-year-old Sammy. I mean, it was fun to watch, man. He made 2 of the 3, feature events he was in. It was pretty impressive. I mean, just for Sammy to get to the B main on Saturday night, in my opinion, that was huge.
Yeah, it is impressive. And I thought his interview was good. He's starting to kind of joke around and just play the role of where he's at right now. I feel like in his career, he's just having fun.
Yes.
That was cool. And like you said, I think at his age, it's pretty incredible that he can still be that competitive.
Could you even imagine you at 70 years old bouncing around on one of these things?
I can guarantee you that I will not be driving sprint cars at 70 years old. I can guarantee it. No chance I'll be out there. And I think that says a lot about Sammy. I think he has an overwhelming passion for the sport. And the fact that he is still doing it and still being as competitive as he is pretty incredible. And I think a lot of it really kind of goes back to if you look at it, right, not saying a bad thing about anybody else, but ultimately, Sammy took really good care of himself. I mean, you didn't really hear about Sammy partying it up a lot. You didn't really hear about Sammy doing anything that was off the wall as far as you didn't hear him doing anything bad like drugs or, drinking a lot. He just was, it always seemed like Sammy was kind of quiet in the background. And I feel like even now he's in such good shape for his age. And I think that's the reason he can still do it, so it's impressive.
When I talk to him, Carson, one of the things that he tells me about as he's gotten older, he goes, I have a tough time because of my age, the eyesight of watching the way the dirt changes, I sometimes I don't see the groove and I don't see the lines like maybe I should see. He goes, and of course he goes, the cars are so much faster He goes, then what? He goes, I was driving 15 years ago even. He goes, you look at the speeds now. And he's still got that little innovation in him, you know. I mean, that's what I like about him a little bit. He's a little different. And you know, and there's a lot of people, you know, that will tell you that you kind of are a young Sammy Swindell. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that. Like Carson Macedo reminds me a lot of Sammy, you know, the way you drive, your aggressiveness, and, you know, and I would, if I were you, I would take that as a compliment any day of the week, man. You want to throw my name in that Swindell hat? I'm good for it, because that's one of the founders of what we have today.
Yeah, I mean, and I do. I mean, I take it as a compliment. I haven't really heard that a lot, but I mean, I definitely feel like, you know, he was a great driver, great pioneer for our sport. And it's crazy to me. Like a lot of guys, like, you know, give up playing golf at his age, you know, like, I can't really do it anymore. And this guy's still competitively driving sprint cars against some of the best in the country. So it's pretty wild, really.
It is. It's just it. And the other thing I was going to talk to you about the format, you know, we know the format every year when you go to Knoxville, you know, qualifying, you got to be fast qualifying, you got to get those points. But at the same time, man, the invert is tough in the heat races. And, you know, we went through this a little bit, and I don't know if you follow late model racing, but last weekend they made, like, Bobby Pierce was like the high point guy at the Florence, Kentucky at the North-South. And yet he had to start fourth Saturday night, being the high point guy in the prelims. He had to start fourth, but yet at the same time, whoever won the heat race started in the front row of the feature. You know, so there's been a lot of debate of formats here lately, it seems like, in late model racing and sprint car racing. And, you know, it's not going to change, because all you got to do is look at the Saturday crowd. There's no reason to change anything there, you know, and it's not going to happen, you know. So, you know, I know it's tough when you see so many good, that B main on the prelim nights is sometimes just tougher than the A main.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, so I agree. I mean, trust me, from a professional standpoint, from a driver that makes a living doing this, it's very hard to swallow sometimes. The formats, especially on big races. I mean, like, the only one that's actually a true format is the National Open. It's just a normal World of Outlaw event, and it's a longer race. It's at the Grove. I mean, I feel like that's like our only crown jewel that just is truly just a regular race. If you look at everything else, you know, Knoxville and Eldora, they're just, I mean, Eldora is a complete crapshoot. Like, it's really hard. Like, the format's,
because there's no Group A or B qualifying.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, not just that, but the fact that, like, you know, the heat winner of Heat 6 starts on the pole, and, like, you know, other than that, like, it's an 8 invert or whatever it is, and you got to try to win it from there, or 6 invert. Like, they spin the wheel now so that, you know, people don't sandbag, but it's like, man, it's brutal. You know, it's just brutal. And I think that's why we've been so bad at the Kings Royal, really. We've struggled there, because just, like, we always qualify super good and then end up starting 8th. And it's like, you know, it's a hero move to get to 3rd and just make the show out of the heat, let alone win it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, especially nowadays with how good the cars are, you know, and there's always somebody that goes out late that's a really good car, like, you know, Brad or somebody, or who knows, like, you know, I mean, I feel like it does happen where they end up starting 2nd, and it's like they go off and win it, and then they start in the top 6, you know, so it's just hard. But Knoxville is like a little better, in my opinion, where you do earn it over the course of the weekend. And I feel like the cream usually does rise to the top, but ultimately the truth of the matter is as much as we would love it to be different, it's not going to change. Like you said, you know, when they're paying big money and they're promoting the show and they're trying to sell tickets and put people in the grandstands, like, unfortunately, the fact of the matter is like, the fans want to see us in a hard position. Like, they want to see the good cars be in the back and have to work super hard to get to the front. And I feel like the promoters know that, and they're not going to change. You know, I think, like, them heat races on them prelim nights, I mean, it's so fun to watch, because you're like, every lap you're waiting to see if that guy's going to transfer or not. And, like, they know that they're selling entertainment, you know, and so it's not going to change.
Those prelim nights at Knoxville are Wednesday and Thursday, man. They make the hair stand up on your arms.
Oh yeah, they're fun to watch.
That's about as intense as it gets. Qualifying at Knoxville is intense.
Yeah, it
I
is.
tell everybody, it's very intense qualifying. And I'd be curious too, like you always hear about the pill draw, right, at Knoxville. It's like when you go up to the pill draw, you like already like, please give me a low number. Please give me a low number. You know.
No, I don't even go. I just let I just let my guys pick it because I don't even want to be involved in it. And the minute I hear, I'm waiting to hear. You know what I mean? Because if you're on the front stretch there, you're in a pretty good spot to lay down a lap. But you get on that back stretch, boy, it's tough sometimes. I mean, we've seen it both nights. Track falls off, and even guys like Kyle can't go out and lay down a lap late. It's tough,
right.
you know. So it makes it tough, Ben. And I think qualifying at Knoxville is so interesting because you watch guys really take risks in qualifying. You know, very rarely do you see like a track where you're like, and these guys are really gambling in time trials, you know, where in Knoxville, you know, a lot of the times in order to go out late and burn a lap in, you got to run the bottom. And boy, it's a big risk running the bottom, you know, because hitting it and really hitting it good is two different things. Missing it is another thing. Like hitting it good could potentially mean you're qualifying in the top 5 in order to be on the 8th starting spot and like having really good points. And hitting it like halfway is like you're mid-pack. Missing it both laps is like you're going to be terrible. So, you know, it just really – and it's not easy to hit the bottom and hit it consistently and hit it good, especially when you're trying to also go as fast as you can and lay down a lap, you know. So – I don't know. It's tough. I ran the bottom and laid down my lap, but you know, I'm driving for a really good team. I got a lot of confidence in Knoxville, and I was pretty confident myself that I could do it. But there was a time, I mean, I remember 2020, I qualified 28th, and I went to run the bottom both laps and missed it both laps, and I came in devastated. So
you said, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Usually I burn in a safe one. I'll go at least at 1 and 2.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you like to get that first one, kind of get a little bit conservative on the first one, make sure I got a good time, and then let her rip on the second one?
So typically in Knoxville, like 1 and 2 is the hardest corner to run the bottom. It's just, for some reason, a lot of the times it's just less, like it's a sharper corner. And so I feel like I always, like my laps the other night, I went, you know, I like, meaning if I say top first, that's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 bottom. So I went top, bottom, bottom, bottom. But it was my slower lap, you know, so it just goes to show you, like, you can burn in a safe one so that you're not, you know, 30th. But ultimately, if you really want to lay a lap down, most of the time, you got to be able to hit the bottom.
You know, we had Justin Sanders on last week, and he told, you know, here's a guy that hasn't been in Knoxville in a couple of, you know, years. And he was telling us, he was like, man, everything on me at Knoxville revolves around turn 2, how to exit turn 2. And if I screw up going into 2 or exit 2, he goes, it ruins everything for me. Everything for the rest of the racetrack, I am junk. He's like, because mentally, he goes, it gets in my head, like I missed that corner. And it's like, then I start, it becomes into a mental just nightmare, you know. And is 2 that tough?
I think it's just the toughest corner. 1 and 2 is definitely tougher than 3 and 4. Like I said, 3 and 4 is a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, man.
So it just seems like, it's easier to run down there, especially like a bottom, top, really both corners. I mean, or both ends of that corner, top and bottom. I feel like it's a little easier. Where 1 and 2, I think that I'm super confident down there. I feel like I can get off to usually most of the time pretty good. But I will say, like, if your car is exceptional, you can make up a lot of ground there, especially if you're hitting that corner correctly. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's where a lot of passes get made. If you look at it, most guys get runs off of there and then can slide the guy into 3 or drive around them. So I'm glad that it's tricky. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know, You always talk about how great the JJR team, and don't get me wrong, they are, but sometimes I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit. You know, I mean, people that watch you race, I mean, dude, you are so talented. You watch yourself. I watch you in a midget, and I always, you know, naturally you've had some bad spills in a couple of them, but for the most part, I mean, you're one of the few guys you can get out of a sprint car with a wing, go jump in a midget with the best of the best, and you can win. You proved it out on the West Coast on Turkey Night. You know, I mean, dude, you're tough in those things. And do you love running the midget, or is it just because there's nothing else to do sometimes, and I'll just jump in it?
No, I really enjoy midget racing a lot. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's produces really good racing. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the kind words. I feel like I just try to maximize my potential every time I'm in the race car, no matter what I'm driving. And I try to put in a lot of effort outside the racetrack to do the best I possibly can. I do a lot of work behind the scenes to be the best driver I possibly can be. And a lot of that just, you know, I give a lot of credit to my teams because I just know that the truth is, you know, for a race car driver, like putting yourself in a good position with a good team, with a good mechanic is really important. And I think that's helped me maximize, you know, the amount of wins I've gotten. I think that's helped me progress faster in the sport, working with Philip Dietz. And, you know, my buddy Sean Dyson just recently got out of the sport. He was the guy I was driving for in Australia for so many years. But ultimately, like between Sean Dyson's midgets at the end of the year and then his sprint car in Australia and then Tommy Tarleton's sprint car out on the West Coast and Philip Dietz and JJR, like I had three like pretty badass rides, honestly, with really, really good stuff. And so I'm just super thankful for that. And I definitely don't take it for granted because I know that it's hard to come by good opportunities and, you know, good people. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that, right? Like that's why I love to jump in anything I can and do a good job and produce results for the people that work hard for me. Whether it be a wing sprint car, a midget, I really enjoy racing midgets a lot. I love racing those races at the end of the year, badass tracks around here. And then also I raced a non-wing sprint car just at Turkey Night, one race. Well, you know, we only run that one race all year. And last year we did win the first night. I was leading the second night and I ended up tipping over. Yeah. I tipped after Ricky Lewis slid me, actually got by me, and then I like kind of lost my mind and got super aggressive and tried to get back by him and ended up turning over. But I'm at least competitive, and that makes me happy, you know.
So with the Dyson situation and everything else, do you have any after the World of Outlaws season's over this year? Have you kind of looking at some different things you might be doing at the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm looking at. I mean, I'm just kind of weighing out my options.
Going back to Australia.
Yeah, I'm going back to Australia. I'm racing for a team over there. I did put a deal together for Australia. But as far as the West Coast midget stuff, I don't have any plans right now. I'm still kind of trying to figure out if I'm going to even run those races or not. I'm getting married this year, December 6th. So I just got a lot of irons in the fire, and like it wouldn't completely break my heart if I didn't run the midget races, but I do.
Probably wouldn't break her heart either. Probably wouldn't break her heart.
No, it definitely wouldn't break her heart if I didn't run them, I'm sure. But she's pretty supportive no matter what. You know, Holly's great. So I don't know. I'm just gonna see. I'm not like too worried about it, just as I'm so worried about what I've got going on right in front of me right now.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
But I do enjoy those races.
You've always been so focused, so I don't ever see that being a problem. You know, you always know what's in front of you and what your goal is. And I think it's great. And congrats, you know, naturally of getting married and stuff. I know I actually you with her a lot. You guys always seem to be smiling a lot. So again, congrats on that. And then I got to ask you, we always like to talk a little bit about some things outside of racing a little bit. Like, you know, we want the people to also know a little bit about Carson Macedo, like away from the racetrack. You know, what kind of music is Carson Macedo listening to? What's like on his playlist? What's going on when you're working out? What are you listening to?
I'm a little all over the place when it comes to that. I mean, I like country music a lot, and I enjoy most, like, especially new country, old country. I like Garth Brooks and all that. But if I'm like in the gym, I usually listen to like hip hop and rap. get me going.
Okay.
I like the 2000s alternative stuff like Green Day and Blink 182 and I like some of that stuff too. I don't know. I'd say like the only thing I don't like is like jazz and classical or something like that. But other than that, like I like a lot of good stuff. I feel like I've got a good mix of a genre.
And I know you're into sports big time. Let's talk a little bit about, you got some favorite sports teams, that Carson Macedo likes to watch. Like when he's not racing, what's my team? It could be college, pro. What are we looking at? Hockey?
Yeah, I really don't. I'm not like I'm so zoned in on sprint car racing that I think I get a little bit like I don't have a lot of time. I don't feel like I don't put in a lot of time to watch a lot of other sports, but I will say I'm a player fan. Like I really like Josh Allen. I like watching football when it's available to be on.
Right.
I feel like he's from Fireball, California, which is kind of cool. That's near and dear to here, so it's cool. And I don't know. I love watching, like we're about to go on my bachelor party soon. We're going to go watch a Vegas Knights hockey game, which is awesome. Like I love watching hockey, especially in person. It's epic.
Yes.
Fun to watch. It's fun to watch some of the playoff games when we're in Canada because they are dedicated hockey fans up there. The Maple Leafs were playing Florida, and it was like the Maple Leafs scored, and I was like eating my burger. It scared the shit out of me because the whole place erupted, But no, I mean, I think that I don't know. I love anything that has competition.
The best sport. Best sport live is hockey. Period. End of discussion.
100%. I would agree with that. I like dirt bike racing. Like I really enjoy Supercross. I like watching Jet Lawrence and
oh my God, Eric Jacobson, who helps us with the show and stuff, is a big Jet Lawrence fan. He tells me I got to watch him, and the first time I watch him, he falls down. The first events of the year, I'm like, I thought you said this guy was like going to be the next Jeremy McGrath. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, he came out on it first year on a 450 in Supercross and won the championship, so that was super impressive. But man, it's not just him. Like I'm out Jason Anderson and Tomac and Sexton and even the 250 class. Like, and he's a little controversial, but Hayden Deegan's fun to watch. I feel like there's just a lot of good up and coming guys, even in the 250 class, that are going to be fun to watch on 450s. I really, them guys to me are just absolute warriors. Like it blows my mind. Like I think sprint car guys, don't get me wrong. Like I think there's, we have roll cages and
I was just going to say that.
Them guys are just mentally like I just don't know how they do it. So it's impressive and it's fun to watch them.
And then, like when you go out to eat, what's your go-to meal? What's a go-to meal?
I'm a steak guy. I like a good steak. We go out a lot on the road, obviously. But if my all-time favorite meal is just cooking at home. I love a nice steak, a twice baked potato and some salad. And my Holly and I, that's probably our favorite meal. Usually I'm the one cooking it all. And she's cooking tonight since I'm doing a little podcasting, but
you could bring her in here. We could show the public, if you want to bring her in here and say hello. We're all about that.
Phones in, so I don't know how much she's going to be able to actually talk, but yeah.
The other thing is, Carson, I know you like, the other thing outside of, golf, I know you do a little golf.
Oh yeah, golf.
And I know that's a big thing with Tyler Courtney. I mean, Tyler Courtney just flat told me, he's like, I can't get enough. It's the one thing I love,
Yeah, I wish I could play more often, to be honest. It's so much fun. And golf's a cool sport that you can kind of play forever, I feel like. But, it's hard for me to play a lot. I live right by a golf course and I'm not even a member because I'm just never very much, but
right.
Enough anyways. And when I am here, most people are working, so they can't really play with me. So that's tough too.
There you go.
But yeah, I played last week with Kyle and Dennis Albaugh, and we had like a 3v. My brother actually played on myself and Dennis's team. We had a little 3v3 going, and it was a blast.
We need to talk. Let's talk a little bit about that. Who won? Who won, and who was impressive, and who kind of let you down?
So I'm probably the letdown actually of we were like I'm a decent player at best, like if I shoot in like the 80s, like that's a massive win, usually in the 90s. And Dennis was pretty good. He was really clutch on par threes. My brother was our other teammate. My brother's like really good at golf. Like he played in high
Really?
school and stuff. Yeah. Like we played the other day at the country
Well,
club
he's
in
got that,
Hanford and
he's taller, he's got
tall.
that probably more natural swing than us short
Man,
guys.
he hits the ball an absolute mile. Like it's ridiculous. He drove one of the greens there, and it was like 300 yards. Like he just can hit the ball a ton. So yeah, it was me, Dennis, and him, and he carried us for the most part. And we ended up losing to Kyle, JP, and Dennis's son-in-law, Jason. So that was a bit of a bummer, but honestly, it was a pretty close match. Like it sounds like it's gonna be an annual thing, so I'm really looking forward to it because I think give or take a couple of putts, we would have won. Like it was close, so but we ended up losing $300 each, so that was tough. Dennis, he doesn't really play without betting, so uh, it was intense.
That's great, man. See, those are sort of things, man. I love getting. And the other thing is, what's in the water in California? I mean, look at the guys that are out on both tours on the high limit side. It's just like it's California guy after California guy. Kofoid, Macedos, and I mean, you throw it out there, Rico, Brad, I mean, and Corey. It's just like this influx of talent that's coming out of Cali. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did you ever think it'd be like that? I mean, and we're talking about not even a couple of weeks ago, they couldn't even get 24 tens at a show. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's crazy.
there's so much development. I feel like that's the one thing that the rest of the country is missing a little bit. Not so much Oklahoma. I feel like they've got like some good micro stuff going on that's pretty good.
Okay.
But I feel like California, like there's so many options to start so young. And I also think that the California economy is a big deal too. Like I think there's a lot of California has a massive economy. I think there's a lot of people that have the finances to put together good teams out here. And I think that it gives kids a start. But like the micro scene in the Central Valley is like super competitive. I mean, you see it every year. They go to Tulsa and they're competitive there, which I feel like is the big stage. And then if you're not from the Central Valley, like you're up north racing outlaw carts, and those things are tough to drive. I mean, that teaches a kid to have ultimate car control at a young age. So I think between those two things, it's a good starting feeder division. And I think the last piece of the puzzle is just I've said this so many times, and people say, well, how come guys from California, go so fast? I'm a firm believer that you can it's so easy to slow somebody down, but not speed them up. Like a lot of guys that are really good, they start out borderline out of control to where, you always hear, oh man, that kid, he's a nuisance. Like he's just tearing a lot of stuff up. Like he can't drive. A lot of the times they can drive and they're actually really talented. They're just pushing the limits and taking risks. And once they figure out how to control the chaos, they usually are really talented drivers that end up actually winning a lot of races. I think you're seeing it right now with Corey Day. Like I remember him being out here racing for Tarleton's and like literally cleaning the shop out, wrecked like 3 or 4 cars, and was, and then now it's like he can put it all together, and he's like incredible, especially for his age.
Yes.
I mean, he's just
Absolutely.
really, really, really talented.
Yes.
And he's a friend of mine. I think he's going to continue to do a great job. And but you out here on the West Coast, you don't have a choice. You either speed up or you just get beat. You get beat down. And I remember for me personally, like when I was growing up racing out here, like Kyle Hurst was the benchmark at that time, and he was just absolutely wiping the floor with all of us and just running so aggressive and so hard every single lap. And so in order to win races, you had to also do that. And I think now you see it with Shane Golobic and Justin Sanders and some of these other guys that are out here, winning on the West Coast. Like they're just driving so aggressive and so hard. And, unless you step up and do the same, you're going to get beat consistently. So I think once you leave here and you go to, the rest of the United States, you usually have to slow down in order to be successful. But the fact that you can step up and be aggressive at any point in time really helps, in my opinion, especially on a national tour. typically you can get yourself out of trouble or carry your car to a different level if you can get aggressive enough, especially in wing sprint car racing. So I think that has to do a lot with a lot of the success of guys that come out of California. I mean, you look at the guys that have actually come out of here, like other than Jason Myers, who also was an incredible racer.
He's a badass, dude. He was so good.
Yeah, but other than him, really, like everybody's super aggressive. Like Jason was opposite. I would say he was like very calculated, methodical, really was always there at the end, and that's why he won championships. But like, look at Kyle, Rico, myself, my brother, Buddy. Gio is probably a little bit like he's like an in-betweener. I'd say he's like kind of like he's got a little Myers in him. He's probably got a little bit of TK, of Tim Kading in him. But like even TK, I mean, he's another one's, he come from out here and he's aggressive. There's so many of us, I feel like, and we all kind of have that same style.
That's the one thing about you. That's what I always say is yet you hear this guy from California. You didn't run half miles. And then you get out there. I mean, look at how good you are at the National Open at Williams Grove. I mean, on the far East Coast, you're as good as hell. You've won more National Opens than the 48 has. You know what I mean? I'm just saying though that tells you that it's like Carson Macedo can pretty much win at any facility in this country. You're not handicapped by any way on some of these facilities, and that's got to be. Those aren't easy tracks to win at. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're not easy.
Yeah, I like half mile racing just as much as I like quarter mile racing nowadays. Yeah. I feel like, I'm just as good at half mile stuff as I am at quarter mile stuff. And probably the quarter miles are where my heart's at. I like quarter mile racing a lot. I mean, that's what I grew up doing. And I just think that those tracks create really good racing, but I do really like half mile racing. And, I put in a lot of effort. It's so much effort. I mean, I watched so much film. I studied so much about half mile racing. I feel like I asked a lot of really good drivers, a lot of deep questions in order to be better on half miles. I knew that was going to be the make or break for me. Ultimately, when you look at the sport nowadays, we got Husets in there, right? That pays big money. But ultimately, like if you outside of Husets, like if you want to win big payday races, you got to be good on half miles. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you want to win at crown jewel races, you have to be good at half miles. So, I just put so much effort into it, and it helped a lot to linking up with JJR. They're a really good team. They had a proven track record on half miles. They've had a lot of success on half miles prior to me. So, I think my work outside of the seat, inside of the seat, and the partnership with JJR, between those three things, pretty confident when it comes to half mile racing now.
And Carson, getting back to who were some of the drivers maybe that really kind of paved the way you watched. Who are some of your favorites and people you really, was there any particular drivers that you kind of looked up to? And
yeah, so when I was really young, this is going to be kind of like, not a lot of people know him, but my grandfather, Robbie Tarleton, was like my biggest fan my biggest person that I looked up to growing up. He was, he raced micros, was really good out here, especially on the West Coast, was traveling, starting to run some midget stuff and was trying to make a living doing it. And he actually got drafted to go to Vietnam when he was 19. So he didn't really get to race a whole lot after that. He came home, had my mom and aunt, and then ended up racing with them. And he was the one that got me a start, like racing micros or quarter midgets first. I was just, I would make laps in his front lawn. I just looked up to him a lot and had so many, he's so many cool stories from him. And then, that kind of transitioned into me racing. And then when I started going to the races, I was a pretty big Jason Myers fan when I was younger, just because he was on the Outlaw Tour. He was from the West Coast. He was winning races, and he was contending for championships, and that was really cool. I mean, nobody had done it from the West Coast before him, so that was fun to watch. I was a big TK fan. Watched him win a lot of races out here and was just super aggressive. When the Outlaws would come to town, he was a guy that could beat them. Which was hard to do, especially at that time. And I feel like he was like one of the few guys that could do it. And then Tommy Tarleton, my cousin, he was winning a lot of races, especially when I was younger, and was fast at, most of the NARC races and local stuff around here. I mean, he was fun to watch, and he was always good at Hanford and Tulare, which is a lot of the two tracks that I probably went to watch at the most. So yeah, I mean, between those four, those are probably my heroes, and made me want to do what I do now for a living, watching them guys race.
How much fun is it to watch the Tarleton with J-Mac when they won, the other night at Knoxville? That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
I was super pumped for him. So not a lot of people know this, or a lot of people know I'm related to him, but the exact family tree is my mom's dad. So my grandfather, Robbie Tarleton, the one I was just talking about, and Tom Tarleton, Tommy's dad, are brothers. And so Tommy's my cousin. He's like one of my best friends. I'm really, really close with him. He's in my wedding party. And probably one of my next closest friends is Drew Warner, who's also my cousin. He ended up marrying Marissa Facino, who is my cousin as well. Right. Yeah. So Robbie Tarleton, Tom Tarleton are brothers, and they have a sister named Liz Tarleton. So those three are brother and sisters, and then they've all had kids, and now we're all related, right? So, yeah, and we were all into racing. I mean, Mitchell and Michael Facino are two. They're also in my wedding. They're my really good buddies and my cousins as well. So, like, between Drew being the mechanic at Tarleton Racing, right, and being my cousin now, and one of my best buddies, and then Tommy owning the team and loving it. My Uncle Tom giving me, the start in sprint car racing, to watch the 21 car go out there and win the Capitani, like a West Coast car. I feel like you don't see that very often. It was super, super cool, and I was so happy for him. I was actually, it's funny, like during the race, I was running fifth or fourth or fifth or something like that, or sixth. Yeah, and I had gotten to I think fourth or fifth. The rubber laid. I was trying to get by Rico. I slid Rico. The rubber laid down, and I realized, okay, it's rubber down, lockdown rubber. And I moved down and got in the rubber, and I'm going down the backstretch, like looking up at the big screen, like, man, I hope the 21 found the rubber, because like, if not, he's going to get past. Like, man, I hope he finds it. And then I seen him on the bottom, and I'm like, oh, perfect. Like, he found it. Like, he's going to be good. And then, a couple laps later, I seen him still up on top of the board. So,
it was pretty neat seeing that famous car. I'm one of those that I love seeing the flat black rig roll into town. It's being in the Midwest and loving sprint car racing, watching them come. I think it's great for the sport to see. Anytime you get to see the Tarleton 21 in the Midwest, I think is really badass. So it's really cool. And the other thing is, you've always had, naturally JGR 41, the Tarleton 21. If you had your own race team, what number would it be? You have a favorite number? Have you ever, when karting or whatever, did you have a number?
Yeah. So growing up, my number was always 2. Actually, my car looked a lot like Brad Furr's car, and so I was always playing him on the Outlaw game, but it was always an all red number 2. And the reason for that was my dad was always 22. He just raced micros and stuff, but he was 22. So I was 2. So yeah, I would probably be number 2. I feel like when I raced for KLR, it was cool because I was the 2. And the first, if you remember right, the first time I raced for KLR, it was actually a team car. It was a 2-car team going to Charlotte at the end of 2018. And Shane ran the 2 and I ran the 22. And so that was kind of cool.
That's right. Forgot all about that.
Yeah, but it was only one weekend, but yeah, and then went back to the 2. So,
well, we got everything in that we wanted to talk about tonight. And, and one other thing that I wanted to touch base on too is every year we go through this silly season. You always talk about the sprint car silly season, and pray to God you're never a part of it. You know what I mean? And if it is, it's your doings. But this week, it really, I think, kind of caught a lot of people off guard with Jason Myers, going down to one team, especially after Knoxville and stuff. And you always hear about all the different changes. And this year it's been crazy because we've had the injuries that we've had with replacements going back from Eldora. Then Brownie gets hurt last week. And it's been a little bit nuts. I can't remember a season where we've had this early in the year, going back and forth, replacements, in and out, and I'd just like to know your take a little bit on the Jason Myers situation, kind of like your thoughts. Were you surprised when you heard everything the way it came about, or were you not surprised of anything? It just, to me, what I saw Carson this year, and I really liked Spencer, and it just looked like the chemistry just wasn't there. For some way or another, it just didn't look like the chemistry, and I think both parties probably would tell you the same thing, and I know that Jason probably wanted this thing to go more than anybody,
Yeah, so I'm pretty close with Jason and Spencer.
Yes.
Really good buddies with both of them, and yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I was definitely surprised, and like you said, it's been a weird season. Like, I never would have guessed that Gio would have quit the 18. I never would have guessed that all these guys would have gotten hurt, and then it's wild that a lot, Sanders being in the 87 and then the 70C Gio getting in that. And then there's just been a lot of shakeups, a lot of things that have happened that just have kind of caught me off guard. But the 14 deal caught me off guard, but at the same time, like you said, like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, so when Jason was looking for a driver at the end of the year last year, I recommended Spencer, and I thought Spencer would do a great job. And I think Spencer's got a lot of talent. I think that he's a good driver, and I think that he could really do a good job, and I think Jason's got a really great race team. I think that, but that they were I thought they would be a great combination, to be honest. Like, I think Jason does things right. He runs his team now just like he did back in the day when he was winning championships. And I feel like they've got really good people in place with Noisy and everything. But sprint car racing's a weird thing. Like, there's times when I see combinations go together and I think, oh my gosh, that's going to be terrible. You know what I mean? Or like, there's never going to work. I don't know how or in the world they thought that team was going to work, but that's going to be terrible. And then there's times when, I see teams go together and I think they're going to absolutely kill it. And it's going to be nothing but like blue skies and shiny stars. And it just doesn't go good, and it's like for no rhyme or reason. Sometimes it's weird. I can't really put a pinpoint on it.
I know. I feel the same way.
But I know, like, there's some combinations that like go really good and you don't really know what you're like, why? And then some combinations that go really bad and you think why. So I don't know. I mean, I'm happy for both of them. I think it sounds like Jason's kind of just wanting to scale back a little bit and go to a one car team. And I think that'd be, good for him. And it sounds like, they're happy with just Corey running some races, and there's a potential just to go back to a one car team and take a little bit off his plate. And I'm happy for Spencer too. I think ultimately, like, I talked to Spencer on the phone. I just called to check on him, make sure he was all good. Sure. And I just said, man, you just never know, right? Like when Gio quit the 18, I was like, man, what's he going to do? Like, and then, you just never know, right? Like, then all of a sudden Tyler gets hurt and it opens up an opportunity, and, you just never know. Right. So I said, man, just don't get your head down. Make sure you stay on the phone and do the best you can to get in the next good deal. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my take on it is that you just never know. Like, you just never know. I mean, I know with Philip and I really didn't know how it was going to go in 2018. When I got the opportunity to run the car after Jason passed away, I was so thankful to have that opportunity. But I was just like, well, this is a big deal, right? Like, I've never worked with Philip. I didn't really know a whole lot about him other than that he had worked with Jason, and I know he worked with KKR in the past. And he didn't know me really. I mean, I wasn't really anything but just like glorified all-star guy at the time, for them to give me an opportunity.
But wasn't Joe Gertie played a pretty good part in that, because Joe always spoke so highly of you. He was like
the JJR opportunity. So I was running for Joe at the time. The JJR opportunity really came from Jason Myers. So Jason actually had called Philip called Jason to try and get Jason to run the 41 at Knoxville after that happened. And Jason was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm retired, but I got this kid. He would do a great job. I think you should give an opportunity. If you're willing to give him the opportunity, I'll even sponsor the car. And I've got another person who at the time was Tommy Tarleton, who would be willing to come on board financially as well, if you'll just give this kid a shot. And like Philip, I mean, we showed up the first night and won together, and then we're just really good that whole week. And it's like, I couldn't even pinpoint why, but we were just it seemed like we worked so seamlessly together. And yeah,
And then gravel gets into 41, leaves X's. You come in. And it's been, it's not changing. The 41 with Carson Macedo and Philip Deese ain't changing anytime soon. There's no reason. It's just a great combination.
that's what I was just gonna say. All the silly season going on, I just thank God that I'm not a part of it.
You guys are too good together. You could watch the chemistry. It's the thing about it. That team of yours is only going to get stronger, and Philip knows it. You could tell you guys all the way you gel together, and you guys have had some turn. You guys have had some guys have left and went to a couple of other teams. And it doesn't seem to affect you and Philip. You guys seem to be in the top 2 in the points every year. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've got 2 good guys now. We lost Clyde and Nate, which was unfortunate, but now we got Robbie and Adam, who have really stepped up and been with us the last couple of years. So they're great guys, and I hope they continue to stick with us.
Well, we're going to shut this thing down now. And Carson, I want you, before we leave, make sure you thank all the people, all your sponsors. You deserve it.
I appreciate that, man. I've got a lot of really good people on that 41 car that make it go around. If anybody's watched any of the interviews at the end of the race, there's a lot of people to thank. So Dennis Allbaugh stepped up, changed our team in a big way. He's a great guy. Allbaugh Your Alternative, his business. I want to say a huge thank you to him, our primary and main sponsor. And then Mesilla Valley Transportation has been along with the 41 a long time, the Sage family, High Performance Lubricants, Sander Engineering, Jason Myers Constructors, Complete Parts and Equipment, Sean Felicity Dyson over in Australia, Phil Durst, helps a lot of race teams. He's a good guy, also a supporter of the 41 car. We run Maxim Chassis. Maxim's been a good partner of JJR for a long time. Kistler Engines, also a supporter and partner in, our engine builder. Factory King Shocks, Willie, I know, has helped the 41 and been a supporter of Philip for a while, so that's pretty cool. I'm just Tarleton and Son, Tom and Tommy Tarleton. They've been a part of my career since the very beginning, and they've continued to support me in all my ventures. So that's been really cool. And Team Jack Foundation, Bandy and Associates, we've got a lot of good partners. So thankful for every single one of them, and definitely couldn't do it without any of them because, obviously Philip being an owner, operator, and mechanic, he really does, make a living and relies on her. We work for our sponsors, ultimately. I mean, they provide the opportunity. We don't, Philip doesn't have like a big business that he's running the team off of. He's doing it solely off sponsorship and producing results for our sponsors. So we want to continue to do that for him.
Well, thanks for coming on the Dirt Parlor, brother, and good luck this weekend in Minnesota.
Thank you very much. I like your shirt, man. That's one of the best ones we ever made.
Dude, you better believe it, man. I've always been a fan. Always will be a fan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good luck, buddy. Stay in touch.
Thank you. Will do.
All right. See you, Carson.
See ya.
Of the 4 races this weekend, I was actually going to talk a little bit about some folks who I think are going to be very competitive this weekend. Let's start with the late model series. We'll start with Batesville, Arkansas. I have a feeling this weekend, after what happened at Florence, Kentucky, that JD responds and gets the big W this weekend. But I think there's going to be a guy that didn't race last weekend at Florence is going to make a little hay this weekend. And I think it's going to be Dale McDowell, our senior citizen of the sport. I think Dale has got something. They didn't race at Florence. They were frustrated with a little bit over the payoff on the preliminary nights and thought it made more sense to go to Batesville. We all know Dale McDowell is always very strong at Batesville. Last year, though, at Batesville, Tim McCready won the race. He will not be there, of course, this weekend because he's on the World of Outlaws tour now. But that doesn't mean the Rocket One will not be ready. So I actually think this weekend, when you look at Batesville, Arkansas, you better look at the 49, you better look at the Rocket One, and you better look at that Bloomquist Zero car of Dale McDowell. And Dale McDowell could be the sentimental favorite this week just because of the fact we're going on 1 year where we lost Scott Bloomquist, folks. 1 year. It breaks my heart. It should break everybody in the industry of dirt racing, NASCAR, it doesn't matter. Scott was a household name. He'll always be a household name. He meant so much beyond the sport of dirt late model racing. he meant so much to dirt racing, and the personality that Scott brought to us. He was our Ric Flair. And I, for one, I miss him every day. The Dirt Parlor will always be dedicated to the memory of Scott Bloomquist. So this weekend, when you look at that 17M car out there, and it's the Team Zero car, I'm sure deep in our hearts, it would be wonderful to see Del McDowell pull off the big W. As we move into the World of Outlaws, actually on the Illinois side, where they start off at Highland and going into Spoon River, and before we head up to Iowa at Maquoketa, I think you look at Highland Speedway, there's not a lot of World of Outlaw guys that have been there. I, for one, think that it could be a Ryan Gustin show. I think Ryan Gustin's going to be very good this week at Highland. I can't pinpoint it. I just think he's going to be good there. I think Brian Shirley's going to be in the hunt. And then when I look at Thursday, I know some guys got to see that track when the Lucas Series actually went up to Spoon River. A lot of World of Outlaw guys were on hand as well. And I think Bobby's going to be really strong there. I think Bobby's going to respond. And then everybody goes to Maquoketa. When you look at Maquoketa, Bobby swept early in the year. He won the Nippy 50, won both nights. I get it. He was very strong. Let me tell you what. There's a guy that's going to be on our show next week that runs very good there too as well. And Jeff Hoker, who's putting the event on, sponsors this gentleman. Brian Shirley last weekend took the week off to get his kids before they went back to school, took them on a little mini vacation to Lake of the Ozarks, and look for the squirrel to find a nut this week. And I think he's going to be very strong in Maquoketa. And hopefully next week when Brian's on the show, we're going to see a lot of smiles on it. And then when we look at the sprint car side, besides our guests coming on, I think our guests actually this week, when I look at Jackson, I look at Ogilvy, Carson's going to get you one of those. I think Carson's ready. Him and Buddy Kofoid, they're probably going to split one or the other. I can see both of them probably winning both of them. But I think it's definitely a California connection out there in Minnesota this week. So I like the 41. And that takes us to Tulare. And when I look at Tulare, I think of Rico. I think we all watch Rico the way he qualifies and gets around that joint. He's going to be really strong. I think Rico's going to be really strong this weekend. I think he's going to get her done at Tulare. And then I look at Placerville a little bit. It's a little different of a racetrack of some sort. I could see a different face probably taking over there a little bit. But I think the 49 of Brad. I like Brad Sweet to get this one. And so those are kind of my picks for the week. And I hope everybody supports these events and they get out to the racetrack. And especially at, Highland's is really close to my heart. They do a great job up there. After all, they named the racetrack the world famous Highland Speedway. So it kicks off Wednesday. Our podcast will be released on Friday to all the social media outlets. So please like and subscribe to YouTube and check out the Dirt Parlor. And can't thank all of our partners again, starting with Nutrient Ag with Steve Martin, Jeff Hoker of Hoker Trucking, Reed Millard of Millard Family Chapels, Bo Potejoy of Hot Rod Septic, Bodies by Skinny. And I'm excited about what we see this weekend. And I'm going to sign off now. And everybody enjoy the races.